Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye, the greatest, most traditional, and brilliant YouTube channel of all time. I'm sorry, I can't keep that. I mean, if you saw the movie we're talking about, you'll definitely pick up on that. And this was a movie that I remember when the teaser dropped like 2 years ago. I was like, what the hell is this? What does this movie even mean? But I know like Bong Joon-Ho, he really killed it with Parasite. And correct me if I'm wrong, did he do Snowpiercer? Or that's somebody different, right?
Yeah, no, he also did Snowpiercer
Okay, he did
and Okja. Those are like the more recent of his movies. He has a few more, but those are the ones prior that come to mind for most people.
Okay, that's fine because it's just very similar aesthetic with this one. And so we're talking about the latest hit from that director, which is Mickey 17, starring Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Mark Ruffalo, oh my God, the mom from Hereditary.
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette, thank you. I mean, I don't know why that... I think maybe I saw that recently and that's all I'm stuck with because that movie's so depressing. But anyways, this is a non-spoiler review, so we're not going to get super into it. So if you do like this video, give us a thumbs up, or if you like the movie, ring the bell for notifications when we drop them and stuff. And of course, subscribe just to be part of our community. We appreciate everyone who's done that so far, and love you all for the support. So this is definitely a sci-fi comedy movie where Robert Pattinson's character is Mickey, Mickey, who volunteers on a space like colonization trip in the near future. It wasn't like 200 years from now or something. It was actually, the way they did it was actually pretty smart or pretty well done. And the trick is with him, he signed up to be what is known as an expendable. So essentially what that means is that he is subject to all kinds of tests in space. And so you can imagine with the name Mickey 17, he's essentially gone through so many of himself. And at one point in the movie, he doesn't die, but his body gets reprinted, and that kind of puts him in big jeopardy. So yeah, Robert Pattinson in recent years, I haven't seen all of his movies like within the last, I would say, 7-8 years where he's really sprouted as an actor. Like I never saw Good Time. I still haven't seen Lighthouse. He was in that one movie with Tom Holland. It was like an exploration movie. I forgot what it's called, but
I believe it was The Lost City of Z, something like that.
Yeah, that one did critically well. I never saw that one, even though it looked good. So, but him being in like the Batman, Tenet, and he's really kind of shown like him and Kristen Stewart from Twilight have really shown their chops, and I'm all for it. And this one's no exception whatsoever. He plays both Mickey 17 and then Mickey 18, and when that happens in the movie, he does such a great job in selling it that they're the same like Mickey but with a little bit of differences. And again, collectively the cast is great. The only other standout that I thought was hilarious was Mark Ruffalo, because he just plays the most ridiculous, like, failed politician / business guy who's trying to bolster this trip into something that it isn't. And it's a very, I mean, you could pick up on it that this is essentially a metaphor for like, working class people at the expense of corporations and, the higher wealthy elites. So I feel like there was one movie that we saw a while ago. I was thinking we had that same conversation, and I was like, I think this one does a little bit better than the other one. I can't think of it at the moment, but yeah, very well done movie. Before I get into the other kind of aspects, and I'm tired of myself talking, Bern, what did you think of this one?
Yeah, so like coming into it, it's like, yeah, Bong Joon-Ho, this is his follow-up to Parasite, which, won a ton of awards a few years ago. So it's always interesting to see what a director does for their next project coming off of Oscar wins. So to see him kind of go back into the sci-fi aspect, like he's done before in the past with Okja or elements of Snowpiercer, it's kind of cool. Like, okay, like he's kind of going back to the roots in a sense, with a little bit more of creative leeway given to you when you sort of win an Oscar. You kind of get a little bit of your next movie kind of has like almost a blank check It feels like for a lot of people where it seems like studios are more willing to fund and give you creative control over your next project. So that's why these are always so interesting. And to see how he went with this one, adapting a book, I believe it was called Mickey 7. I haven't read it personally, but it was really cool to see a lot of like the same sort of elements and themes from a lot of his previous movies sort of find their way into this more satirical, comedic, futuristic sci-fi movie where he's still touching on a lot of things that he has before in the past when it comes to things like capitalism and, like you mentioned, like class systems and like how they work and how he sort of satirizes them, to sort of get a point across, but in a sense that it's a little bit more comedic and it's a little bit more light and a little bit more interesting when it comes to the visuals and the sci-fi elements. So I think in terms of all that, this really, really worked. It was so fun seeing this world sort of created in a sense where it's like, all the futuristic elements and all the themes of like, what happens when you start like using clones as like a workforce and how that can get that sort of like ethically like ambiguous and in that sense. So it was really fun seeing him playing around not only with all those sort of things, but playing around with the comedy more so than a lot of his previous movies have, with a little bit more serious. They all tend to be a little bit wacky and zany in certain elements, but I don't think it's been to this extent. And you can tell the entire cast is just having a ton of fun with it.
Yeah, I would say this movie for those cinephiles like ourselves, it's a very much a blend of like Snowpiercer, because again he did that one, so you get that very like grimy aesthetic with everything, how it's in the future, but it's just as bad, like it's just as grimy as you can imagine like nowadays, but it's also got a good mix of like I would say even Star Trek, like 2000, like J.J. Abrams Star Trek, and Altered Carbon from Netflix with Joel Kinnaman and Anthony Mackie. I don't know if any of you guys, that's kind of one of those random shows I don't think did super well, but yeah, I really, not only was the acting great, but I'm really, when sci-fi movies, I'm always excited with sci-fi because I feel like I get more engulfed in that kind of environment than I would like fantasy or just whatever. And this movie's no exception, where, again, not super futuristic or anything, but futuristic enough that we're able to digitally print people, or space travel and stuff, and there are aliens or, not extraterrestrials that aren't us kind of thing. Um, I thought the production was great. The effects overall were pretty consistent. I don't think it's definitely not like recent Marvel movies where, oh, it's good here, but then there's one scene or two where it's just bad. It was all really well done. Even the props and stuff, like the clothing with sci-fi, because it's always one of those things when you're in the future, what is everyone going to look like? Are we going to look super crazy like in Back to the Future Part 2, or is it going to be kind of more normal and stuff like even Avatar? And this one had that good aesthetic of like, it's futuristic but still very grounded. Even one of the little prop guns and stuff that they use in one scene or two, it was basically just like a regular Glock looking thing with a flash hider. So it added that sci-fi element while being very practical. So I always appreciate when sci-fi movies and like productions are able to use that stuff, like modern, like contemporary stuff, but make it look sci-fi. And even the alien design in this movie, very simple, but still just so well done that you really, again, I got sucked into it. I really liked it. I didn't think I was going to like it, especially because I've gotten into the point where if I'm watching a movie super late or if I'm super comfortable, I'm falling asleep at some point in the movie. I don't want to, but it happens. This one managed to keep me awake the entire time. So with all that being said, I'm going to give this one a hard 5 out of 5. I think this is the best sci-fi movie I've seen since at least Dune Part 2. And yeah, I definitely got to watch Parasite, and Okja is another one I kind of found out about recently. Or I remember hearing about it, but I never saw it. So yeah, definitely recommend this for IMAX for sure. So this is definitely one of those movies this year I'm saying go see it, if ands or buts.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is the best sci-fi movie we've gotten since Dune 2. Almost like a whole year apart, which is kind of funny to think about. That has been that along that quickly. But yeah, Bong Joon-ho really like nailed the tone that he was going for with this movie. As you mentioned, all the effects work here is pretty great across the board in terms of the production design, and the effects and stuff. It all works together to make this world feel real and fleshed out, and all the actors are all doing a great job in sort of bringing this sort of vision of a grimy, weird, satirical future to life, and they all do such a great job of it. I think the only thing for me that sort of holds this movie back in terms of like a negatives, if I were to say any, is that the pacing a little bit was a little bit off for me in terms of like the beginning and a little bit of the middle. But once we hit a certain point, it feels like it sort of takes off from there. And it does feel like, I know that he had a final cut on this movie, but when it comes to certain characters, side characters in the movie, it did feel like there was a lot left to be desired, for me at least, where it feels like characters sort of come in and like do something important when it wasn't really set up before, or just sort of disappear from the movie when it felt like there was something a little bit more there that could have been explored. So, and I have to see it another time to see how those elements sort of work. When watching the movie one time, you have to kind of absorb all these things at once. But maybe on the second watch, it might come together a little bit better for me. But there were certain points where I was like, oh, I thought we were going to go somewhere with that, or oh, where did this sort of person come from? Why are they doing this thing now all of a sudden? So yeah, there was just those things for me that left me questioning what was going on. But other than that, solid across the board. I think for me, in terms of his filmography, this doesn't quite hit the Parasite and Snowpiercer level, but definitely comfortable with Okja and a lot of the other things that he's done. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. Again, like you, I highly recommend this to everybody. And yeah, just one of the better sci-fi movies we've gotten in the recent years, for sure.
Yeah, like again, it's one of those things that's probably because it's one of the better movies we've seen at the beginning of the year that I didn't really like it. But again, if I see a good sci-fi movie with its own believable world or something, I'm all for it. Very much like I did with Dune, Avatar, shit like that. So, yeah. So 5 out of 5 for me. For oh my god, 4 for Burn. I can't talk right now. So, for those of you who did happen to catch it, please let us know what you thought. We'd love to see how you guys felt about this movie. Like, did you care for the metaphors, the acting, production, all that good stuff? We're all ears on that. Want to keep the conversation going, but yeah, it's crazy that we're already in March. St. Patty's Day is around the corner, so everybody be careful with that. Have fun. But until next time, everyone, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.